magic fans, and rejoice. The glory of Phyrexia is at hand. I'm Ladee Danger from the Command Zone podcast, and I'm here to give you an exclusive look at Magic's newest set, Phyrexia, All Will Be One. The Phyrexians are some of Magic's oldest and most terrifying villains, and this set gives players our first chance to explore Elish Norn's fully realized new Phyrexia for ourselves. But what is it exactly that makes the Phyrexians so disturbing? What is it about them that gets under our skin? Figuratively speaking, of course. For that, let's hear from Rhystic Studies about the history of Phyrexian horror in Magic.
New Phyrexia is a viral civilization. Centuries ago, a silent disease unknowingly arrived on Mirrodin in the form of a glistening oil. Slowly, the oil seeped into the surface of the plane's metal spheres. It corrupted its caretaker. It reshaped the texture of its core into a fungal lattice to prepare the plane for the final stage of infection. The propagation of this disease subverted all life into a macabre synthesis of flesh and machine. From the conversion, 5 factions emerged beneath Mirrodin's surface, each proselytized by a praetor that imposed upon their legions a vision of perfection. The virulent cults of the machines afflicted their contagion and reformed the world to match the illusions of their grandeur. The Phyrexians are a synthetic nightmare. They are unholy abstractions, a satire of biology. Their bodies have contorted and deformed beneath the zeniths of the 5 suns, whose influence has shaped their ideologies just as the infection has reformed the world. The worshippers of the fair basilica flaunt their exposed crimson muscles beneath a sleek shell of metallic porcelain. The voracious boars of the hunter's maze grow copper tusks from their reinforced hides. The rancid contraptions of the quiet furnace glow orange beneath a tarnished carapace of rust. The surgical bay houses 1,000,000 disembodied eyes, which surround and stare upon a forum devoted to unethical experiments. And clouds of toxic gases crowd the air of the dross pits, a swamp-filled sector defined by incessant infighting. The Thanes that thrive here skitter about on insectoid limbs that resemble those of their ruthless leader. Over time, domini of colossal scale have materialized as monuments to the 5 civilizations. Scriptures inscribed into their facades serve as testaments to each praetor's will. They are living obelisks, monoliths of a perverse pride. The locus of terror resides in the surreal decadence of this alien life form. Their world is a horizonless atmosphere, an intangible dreamscape. They will cross the multiverse and ensure its every plane is transformed in their image. The unremitting violence they bestow onto these worlds is symbolic. They expose the tender psyche. They ambush the feeble mind. They exploit the ailing body. Commanding the annexation, the mother of the machines sits proudly on her ossified throne, a spectacular showing of her conviction. Under her allegiance, the machine orthodoxy exercises a singular, simple creed. We are Phyrexia. We will sow perfection into the soft flesh of this world.
This set is special. We will see a world the Phyrexians designed to match their twisted motivations. Let's learn a little more from the designers about what Phyrexian culture looks like in a world they've literally custom-built for themselves.
We're talking about Phyrexia, All Will Be One, or for the Phyrexians at home, Mary Catherine, you want to give it to us in Phyrexian?
Yeah, it's Phyrex Kapashk Imasahak.
All right, so welcome Phyrexians.
When we started with the set, my conceit was, I love the Divine Comedy. So this was like Dante's Inferno.
So Phyrexia all will be one. We're going to come back to the plane of Argentum, which was Mirrodin, is now new Phyrexia.
Phyrexians have built a completely new layer from the scraps of the Glimmer Void on top of what used to be Mirrodin. The whole surface, called the Glorious Facade, has been filled with monuments to each of the praetors, to Elish Norn, of course. The sons of Mirrodin have been thrown into weird orbits because the Phyrexianization of the whole plane. And then you go down to Myrrix. Now the Glimmer Void is just like a pile of scraps, and the light is that old and dark. This is where a lot of Mirrans hide out.
And then it goes to the furnace layer. Each praetor has a little bit different of a philosophy of what perfection looks like in their mind. Like Urobrask is a little bit different. He's our red praetor. He's a little bit more about freedom and individuality. He thinks that those are important.
He's so individualistic compared to the other praetors. When he speaks Phyrexian, he actually speaks with an accent. He kind of uses slang. He's a little sassy, a little sarcastic. In Phyrexian, they'd say, lo pursuge, let them be. But he doesn't say that. He says, prosuge, lo, like, obviously.
Mary Catherine, you've got a lot of different titles and have a lot of knowledge about this set. Mother of Language, is that the correct title?
I mean, it's one of them, yeah. For this set, I was the head Phyrexian linguist. A lot of Phyrexia's history and even culture is baked into the language. The different praetors all use language in their own very different way.
What was one of your favorite phrases that you got to put in the cards?
We are Phyrexia. We will sow perfection into the soft flesh of this world.
It's pretty dark.
It's pretty metal. That's my favorite one, though.
It's pretty beautiful, I think.
And then one level down is the Hunter's Maze.
The Hunter's Maze is an endless jungle of metal. Oxidized copper all the way through. You don't really get to see the roof. You don't really get to see the ground. Phyrexians connect to the land and use it to move around and can come out of what looks like a tree. You should not be fooled by appearances. These are not trees. This is part of a mine. This is where they keep all their materials. Vorinclex just wants the strongest. They are keen on Phyrexianizing particularly challenging enemies. They get that honor of becoming part of the glory of Phyrexia. That's your reward for fighting so hard to be free from it.
For Vorinclex, it is becoming perfect because he's the last one standing, effectively.
Look at the strong thing that I've created and thus vanquished.
Eliminating the competition increases the honor or so of himself.
Let's get the surgical bay then.
Let's talk.
This is where the
Bay.
progress engine lives, right?
Gingertaxis and his progress engine take place here. It's the surgical bay because they're very focused on perfection through science, but not any like positive goal. In fact, oftentimes nothing is gained from it. It is torture for the sense of it.
It's a pretty bad place. You don't want to wake up in the
Don't want to go
bay.
there.
The surgical bay is probably one of my favorite layers. You're seen everywhere because they want to study everything. They don't want to miss any single detail of an organism to understand how it can better Phyrexia. They want to see what they can grab from you, even if it's just one cell. That's the most powerful cell you have. They want to take it from you. In the design, we put eyes everywhere. You're always being observed.
Ocular implants are big in this layer, right? And you're seeing that motifing play out across the landscape.
In the walls, in the Phyrexians in the progress engine, every eye has turned to pay attention to you.
They want to observe that biomechanical horror of these augments, these ocular implants.
Unsurprisingly, Jin speaks with long, complicated words because in Phyrexian, if you add an adjective on the word, you just slap it on the word, and so you get longer and more complex and more difficult to read and more difficult to understand, and that's exactly the way Jin wants it. He thinks that he's perfect and that you should meet him where he is and be able to understand what he's saying, no matter how complex it is.
Next up, we have the Dross Pits, one level down.
Here in the Dross Pits, your deepest nightmares is what you become. The acid is everywhere. And if you're lucky enough to survive and not become just protein, you will be taken to the arena, where they just have everyone fight each other. You can take as a trophy a part of someone that was particularly strong and add it to yourself.
The praetor in charge there is Sheoldred, who runs her Grand Colosseum.
Sheoldred has risen to the top.
None of the Phyrexians I knew Phyrexia have like direct personal memories of Yawgmoth and the old Phyrexia, the glistening oil itself does imprint like a general sense on it and like carries it to them along with the language. It's how they all know the language. And so we have Shieldred subconsciously mimicking what old Phyrexia was from these like misty, half-known memories.
This genetic memory,
Yes.
implanting what
Yes.
the father of machines
Yes.
used to think or say.
In the Fair Basilica, we wanted to get that Roman glory, right? This is an empire. The perfection of Elish Norn has to be inherited and shared by everyone. It is a great honor if you are completed and become a full Phyrexian. You are all metal. And in the case of Elish Norn's folk, it's porcelain-like metal. But the highest honor is reserved to those who have been ossified to form part of her massive throne and form part of her basilica. They are in the columns, they are in the walls.
You look at the way that they even describe themselves, the flesh singularity, right? Like there is no doubt in her mind that her way is the right way. Elish Norn, the mother of machines.
Yes.
The name that she's given to herself.
Yawgmoth's name, Yawgmoth, in Phyrexian, literally translates to Father of Machines. So not only has Elish Norn styled herself off of the Father of Machines, she's literally taken his name in becoming Mother of Machines.
Next up, the Mycosynth Gardens.
Mycosynth Gardens used to be the old core of Phyrexia. The branches of Realmbreaker are coming through. In the seed core, there is where we can see Realmbreaker beginning to stew. The single largest, the most invasive force ever created in the multiverse.
This is Elsh's perversion of the world tree from Kaldheim. Like it should have sundered this plane. It should not have been able to be cultivated here. But now Elsh's machinations are going to have it such that the Realmbreaker is truly going to do just that. It's not just a clever name, right? It's going to kind of breach all of the different realms in the multiverse to spread the glory of Phyrexia.
I hope. I hope that's what it does.
I hope everyone gets a chance to see new Phyrexia.
I hope it breaks. I hope it turns the whole multiverse into this glorious vision that Elish Norn has for everyone.
Of course, one of the most chilling parts of Phyrexia is the way they recruit new subjects, assimilating them through a process known as completion.
The completion of the subject requires invasive, viral, and surgical procedures, and that which endures the amalgamation is considered perfect. First, the subject is exposed to the glistening oil, a liquid contagion that initiates the process of phyresis. An onset of headaches precedes major shifts in the subject's personality. They begin to crave Phyrexia in all its splendor. Genetic mutations occur in the body within a matter of hours. Slowly, a black ichor colonizes all vital fluids. Early signs of successful phyresis are made visible by oil draining from the eyes of the converting host. From here, the subject is guided to a table, where splicers assemble an arsenal of tools fit for lacerations and precise incisions. Surgery is necessary for completion. Modifications to the body depend greatly on the subject's eventual purpose. No path to perfection is ever treaded twice, and nothing ever goes to waste. For some, the skin is flayed in order to graft slender steel plates onto exposed ligaments and musculature. For others, metallic cables replace arteries and blood vessels throughout the circulatory system. To rid the organic form of its awful imperfections is to suffer tremendous pain. This procedure is often fatal. The husk that emerges complete does so animated by necromantic magic. Not all subjects are biological entities. The completion of artifacts requires an inverse synthesis of flesh and bone onto the metal skeleton. Perfection is always relative. The previous allegiances of the subject are irrelevant. Completion is thorough in the totality of its conversion. Vat-grown newts and native Mirans alike will be indoctrinated. and their newfound faith will align only with the glory of Phyrexia. All converts shall dismiss their previous identities. It is a trivial detail against a far greater plan. Presently, a paradigm-shifting advancement allows for the completion of planeswalkers. What was once impossible is now an active reality. New praxis involves the harnessing of the intangible spirit, and with it, the preservation of the effervescent spark. Unlike most converts, the Praetors reward special privilege to these planeswalker subjects. They allow them to maintain a fracture of their uncompleted mind. Their values and ambitions are then subverted and reoriented to serve the needs of the Orthodoxy. These subjects have already proven invaluable for the machines. Although the planeswalker subjects mirror their former selves, the question of the preservation of their soul remains entirely unresolved. Recurring studies on the ocular cavities, or what commoners call the windows to the soul, have proven inconclusive.
With the threat of completion on the table, there's no telling which of our planeswalkers is going to make it out of Phyrexia alive, or as themselves. Tamio and Ajani were both completed in earlier sets, and we've already seen the beast tamer Luca converted to their side as well. No one is safe. So here's a closer look at what it would mean if our favorite planeswalkers fell into the clutches of Phyrexia.
When the scene opens here, we've got this strike force of planeswalkers that are just going to planeswalk over to the plane of Argentum, or that which was Mirrodin is now new Phyrexia. They're going to take the Silex down to the seed core through the 9 layers of Phyrexia, each of the Praetor's domains, and plant it and detonate Realmbreaker before Elish can complete the multiverse by utilizing Realmbreaker to tap into the countless number of planes that we have. Easy game, right?
Sounds pretty simple.
Yeah.
Straightforward. Nothing's going to go wrong.
Nothing could possibly go wrong. So what we've done is we've actually commissioned, there are 10 planeswalkers in the set, and we commissioned some what ifs. Now, spoilers, some of the folks at home may not know this, but no one is safe here, right? We're gonna see planeswalkers becoming completed, becoming Phyrexians. So one of the things that we did, though, is said, well, what if? What if we envisioned all 10 of them?
What if we won?
Well, yeah. What if the planeswalkers fell to Phyrexia? Right? And so what we did is we commissioned 10 arts of each of the planeswalkers in their Phyrexianized form. So
Completed.
Yes. A complete set of 10 completed planeswalkers.
This was the most fun I had, I think, in the set. Just talking about how each of them were taken into the fold. Might not be all, might be all. Who knows?
And so we have the Wanderer. This is somebody who we've seen, whose story we followed all through Neo Kamigawa, and is part of the strike force that's actually coming here to Phyrexia.
The Wanderer might stabilize here and actually be in control of her own spark.
The process of completion is complicated, but it fundamentally changes a being's very soul. And that is, of course, where the spark lives. And so it's not out of the realm of reason that it would have such a drastic change and effect on a planeswalker's spark, like the Wanderer, allowing her to gain some amount of control in giving up her freedom.
The Wandering Emperor might not be a Wandering Emperor anymore.
So we got Jace Bellerin, the world's most talented mind mage. Why would he be an asset for Phyrexia, and how would we showcase that?
Well, Jace, of course, is an intellectual. Jace will finally understand what it all means. And we're just gonna show Jace displaying that perfection in all its glory.
A thinking man's Phyrexian.
A thinking man's Phyrexian. The best way of Phyrexians. All the planeswalkers at this stage are still in process. They get to keep their identity somewhat. Jace gets to have more eyes to observe and to chronicle everything. Jace gets to see things for what they are.
Mary Catherine, you talked about kind of how completion is a full experience, right? It encapsulates the soul as well, and there's a really wild moment where Kaya in particular dabbles in the spirit realm, should we say. What would excite her about Phyrexia here?
There's no souls here. Her entire life has been dominated with the conflict between spirits. The Phyrexians don't have souls.
Conflict averted.
Yeah.
Still white, black aligned, capable assassin in her own right. How do we envision Kaya on the card art?
Knife hands. But there is a silence in Phyrexia that you can't attain anywhere else. By joining Phyrexia, you can quiet the universe of spirits. That'll afford Kaya some peace. Kaya will be a strong hand for the power of Elesh Norn.
Kaito, kind of our infiltration, our stealth specialist, right? Capable martial prowess.
Kaito just gets more limbs, I suppose. Like more limbs everywhere to better fight. His weapons are already awesome. He'll just be a living weapon now.
Blue-black aligned. Do you see a specific Praetor kind of taking a shine to Kaito?
Could be anyone. Could be Shieldred, could be Jin Gitaxias.
As we know, struggles between the Praetors like this are incredibly common. Not everyone believes that Elesh Norn's way is the correct way to completion. And so it would be common if you had a planeswalker like Kaito who is incredibly powerful and could be aligned with multiple Praetors that they would fight over him.
If Vraska became completed, it would happen in the draw spits. Vraska is an ultimate predator, and she could be a Thane herself, right? She would have to prove herself in battle.
She's a capable assassin in her own right. If we see her change in the draw pits, she'd pick up some of that motifing, some of that plating, some of that armature that you would see there.
There is some carapace components that are similar to what a centipede would be, and definitely Vraska ends up picking some of that up.
That seems to be a theming with Shieldred as well in the draw pits.
The redesign came in Dominaria United and was massive. Vraska is the beginning stage of this process. Let's go on Tyvar. And I don't want to say giant fists.
Why not? I mean, if there's a problem that can't be beat by punching it, then Tyvar's your wrong tool, right?
Tyvar is gonna definitely do more of what he loves to do. Just punching stuff.
Set him loose in the maze.
Yeah, just set him loose. He'll just go on and take everything. He'll even stab you with his eyes. Nahiri has switched her arms for blades. Giant, smoldering blades.
Here's a pretty great one to talk about on this plane as well, right? As a lithomancer, like this is somebody who can fundamentally shape metal. Well, that power seems pretty compelling on an entire plane made of metal, right?
Seems pretty useful for the Phyrexians, yeah?
You can see why she might be an asset.
Yeah.
Talk about Nissa.
Yeah. Well, Nissa finally gets to come and join the world and nature, right? You see Nissa rooted everywhere.
It is interesting because Nissa remains green aligned, but she does not have the same sort of green alignment as Vorinclex does. Vorinclex is about what he thinks is evolution through hunting and predation. Nissa is more about becoming one with what is essentially a living world. She's already melded with a world soul once. As a green Phyrexian planeswalker would be able to tap into the world itself of New Phyrexia.
Potentially all worlds.
Potentially all worlds.
We've got Luca as well. Luca has sadly been misled, and now he's coming into the fold. Luca thought wrongly he could bond a Phyrexian beast and this way control it. And this was the path to complete Luca.
Koth, right? He's never turned. Koth remains the piece de resistance, right? We see him in Phyrexian arena art from back in the day of him still on Mirren, well, New Phyrexia, slugging it out against Phyrexians. But what if Koth would turn?
Koth's passion for his people will turn him to Phyrexia. He will want to join them in the ultimate act of sacrifice. Koth will definitely bring his geomancy, right? Like he can alter the earth. He will be the best Mirren if he just joins the rest of his brethren who already were taken over.
The perfect Mirren?
Yes.
Fans are going to have a great time with this set. If you are into Phyrexia, or even if you're not, you're going to be able to either view it from the lens of like, wow, this is really exciting, and I'm excited to see this for the first time, or like, wow, this is horrible. These guys are just the worst villain that we have, and I sure am rooting for the Planeswalkers.
That's everything we have for you today. We hope you've enjoyed this look into just what makes Phyrexia so exquisitely, chillingly evil. And if you can't wait to see what Phyrexia has in store for our Planeswalker heroes, be sure to check out the All Will Be One story when it starts dropping on the Magic website later today. The final chapter goes up just an hour before the All Will Be One debut video, where we will be revealing new cards, new mechanics, and some new horrors Phyrexia has waiting in the wings. You won't want to miss it.